Teal dear, this one student doesn't understand... Well, he doesn't understand a lot of things. I'm not exactly sure which one thing I want to criticize him for not understanding, because there's just a whole umbrella of them. Oh well, let's just get straight on into this, shall we?
When I was in junior high, I was about 5.5 feet tall.
Lol, manlit.
I was pretty athletic, so I played a lot of sports, and one of these sports was baseball. Girls couldn't play, they just weren't allowed. This was one of those sports that, was only for guys.
What? Baseball is only a sport for guys? Sure, absolutely it's only a sport for guys, as long as we conveniently ignore the fact that the US has a women's national team. Canada also has a women's national team. I'm also sure that any Australian fans of the sport watching this will tell you about the women's national championships that were held earlier in January of this year. And then, of course, there's the Women's Baseball World Cup, which frequently features teams from Canada, China, Japan, Venezuela, South Korea, the United States, Canada, Mexico, and Korea, and Australia. But remember, baseball is a sport for guys, and girls just aren't allowed to play.
And I never even thought about it until now.
It shows.
It never even crossed my mind. Until recently, I asked a friend of mine, why are girls encouraged to play sports?
You mean apart from all of the times that they are actively encouraged to play sports? In fact, here is a wonderful example from the USA of US coaches screaming out to try and get UK female football players to enter the US with the promise of scholarships. And quite rightly so, because women's football over here in the UK is a pretty big deal. Hell, we even have our own scholarship programs for women in football, and clearly they produce some pretty damn good results, because all you have to do is have a quick thumb through all of the women's football fixtures for the up-and-coming year, and you will notice there's a lot of them. But women are actively being discouraged from playing sports, remember that.
To run the bases or sprint up and down the courts.
Well, we already covered baseball, but yeah, they are encouraged to do the same thing on the court in basketball as well.
She replied,
"Girls aren't taught to play around. We're taught to play it safe."
And what fucking planet was she on? Oh, it was probably the same one where 1 in 3 women get raped at college, despite, of course, all actual evidence to the contrary. I gotta wonder when someone's gonna say something in this video that isn't intentionally misleading or just an outright lie.
But that was still no answer as to why guys are taught to go, but girls are told to stay in their place.
Who is telling them this? Give me names!
Because it's dangerous out there.
Because girls can get hurt.
Okay, but who's doing the hurting? Someone has to be the aggressor first, right?
Yes, someone does have to initiate violence. And it's interesting that in studies conducted by people like the CDC, they actually find that women are just as likely as men to initiate violence.
Here's another one. Never walk home alone at night. Quick question, have we really ever even thought about what they're supposed to be aware of? It's men. That's right. We are the source of the problem. Boys and men.
Why don't you just save everyone the time and cut your balls off right now? But just for fun, let's throw a little bit of nice cold water all over this idea that women are the ones who should be scared. From the Bureau of Justice Statistics National Crime Victimization Survey 2003. Let's head on down to the section about victim and offender relationships. Oh, would you look at that? Men are more likely to be the victim of pretty much every type of violent crime. They are also far more likely to be the victim of crime as a result of being attacked by a complete stranger. If you just look at that section for female victims of crime where the perpetrator is a stranger, you will actually notice that total strangers are the group least likely to attack women by quite a large margin. So if there is any group of people out there that we should be teaching to be scared of walking around by themselves alone at night, it's men. And here's an interesting point. Yes, men commit more criminal offences than women. But does that mean that we should demonise the entire gender? Of course not. But let's apply a little bit of your logic to another issue. The US Department of Justice issued a paper on homicidal trends in the United States between the years of 1980 and 2008. Now, if I wanted to do what you're doing and intentionally mislead people by being very disingenuous about statistics, in an attempt to demonize an entire demographic of people, I would simply point out to you that black people are 7 times more likely to commit homicidal offences than white people. And given that males commit more crimes than females, does that mean that it is now acceptable for me to instantly demonize and mistrust every black male that I see, and simply state that they are the problem? No, of course not. That would be fucking retarded. There are too many other factors in play to make such a definitive statement. In an issue like that, economic situation is far more important than race. Do not try and use faulty statistics and assertions to try and demonize an entire group of people.
Because we are told to play offense, we feel that we are entitled to aggression, so girls and women are told to be aware, self-defend.
What? I've never heard anyone tell a woman to be aware and to self-defend. In fact, the modern message from social justice warriors and feminists is that telling a woman to learn any sort of self-defense or take responsibility for their own actions is victim-blaming. So stop being an oppressive shitlord.
We are told that we have urges that we can't control. I guess that's where the phrase comes from, men will be men.
Who is this we? I have never been told any of that stuff. In fact, I was frequently told when it came to my urges, by which I assume you mean wanting to have sex, that I was to be polite and to be courteous and to be respectful and to get consent from my partners. So if you could not refer to that as we, that would be great, especially since I'm pretty damn sure that I am not alone in that experience.
So our actions are excused, forgotten, forgiven, and almost always blamed on women.
So men's criminal actions are forgiven more frequently than women's. Well, I'd certainly love to see your evidence for that. Oh, that's right, you didn't provide any. Well, never mind, because in regards to finding out just how forgiving society is of men's criminal activities compared to women's, I have found this rather interesting paper from the University of Michigan Law School. And what is this that it says? This paper assesses gender disparities in federal criminal cases. It finds large gender gaps favoring women throughout the sentence length distribution, averaging over 60%, conditional on arrest offense, criminal history, and other pre-charge observables. Female arrestees are also significantly likelier to avoid charges and convictions entirely, and twice as likely to avoid incarceration if convicted. But yeah, men are totally the ones who are forgiven and excused for all of their behavior, because patriarchy, right?
We are always at bat, and we always choose what we get thrown. The guys that swing a lot are the MVPs, while the girls that pitch a lot are just sluts, thoughts, hoes.
Hang on, the guys are always at bat, and we choose who we get thrown. Oh, that's right, because in the game of the patriarchy, women are the ball. I see what you did there. But yeah, no, women actually have this thing called autonomy, whereby they can choose their partners. But it's nice to see that you don't respect that, or indeed even acknowledge that it exists. Stop infantilizing women and recognize that they are adults who are capable of making their own decisions in life.
First base means you're on. Second base means you're halfway home. Third base means home plate is right there. Yeah, now you're feeling really grown. But then she tells you she wants to stop. And in all honesty, it doesn't even really matter though, because statistics show that you probably won't get caught even if you try to steal home. Because that's basically what the world tells us.
Yeah, I distinctly remember when I was a younger man, and my father looked me in the eyes and he said, "Son, whenever you go out on a date with a girl and she doesn't put out, just fucking rape that bitch, because no one will care and you will totally get away with it." In fact, you can read all about it in my autobiography, Teal Deer, stuff that never happened.
How we can't contain our desires and our lust is just overzealous. But if she did not say yes,
then no does not mean maybe, and wait does not mean not yet.
Actually, that's pretty much exactly what the word wait means.
Even if she says nothing.
Nothing does not equate to consent.
So in a scenario where a man and a woman are silently staring into each other's eyes and they both lean in at exactly the same time and their lips come together as a mutual agreement, but neither of them ever uttered a word. So does that mean that he sexually assaulted her? Or did she sexually assault him? Or did they both sexually assault each other? Or did neither of them get sexually assaulted at all? This is getting very confusing. You might want to be a little clearer about this one. Also, this idea of having to give an explicit yes for consent gets a little bit compounded when you realize that universally one of the highest rated female sexual fantasies is the so-called rape fantasy. You know, the one where a guy, overcome with lust for a woman, carries her off to the bedroom, starts ripping her clothes off, forcefully kissing her, all the while she protests, and then at the last minute she yields in the confines of her own mind, never actually explicitly saying yes. It's just funny how much of a common theme that sort of event is in women's romance novels, when we're constantly being told that they must say yes, yes, yes at every single step of the way in a sexual encounter. Honestly, I'm starting to think that people like you think that sexual encounters between any two people should basically go something like this. I am about to unbutton the top button of your blouse. Is this acceptable? Yes. I am going to unbutton the second button of your blouse. Is that acceptable? Yes. I would now like to kiss you while at the same time unbuttoning the third button of your blouse. Is that acceptable? Yes. And so on and so forth. Oh, I don't know about anyone else, but thinking about all of that consent has put me in a bit of a state.
Guys, we are not the offense and women are not the defense. This game should not go on if she does not want to get to home base. So if we take someone out for drinks, dinner, a movie, that does not mean we get to shoot a jumper in their face.
Shoot a jumper in her face. I now have this fantastic mental image of a guy doing a Matrix leap through the air while simultaneously jizzing on the face of a woman as he flies past, before falling to the ground, sheened with sweat with a grin of euphoria.
The worst part is we think that we own women.
I don't think you know the difference between the pronouns I and we.
But hey, we do see it all the time, right? TV shows, movies, music videos, World Star, Vine, and other places online.
Because there's no examples in popular culture of women owning or dominating men or the world in general.
Run the world, girls. Run the world, girls.
Oh, but surely there's no examples of articles being written about it. Ah, but surely there's no examples of anything else like this anywhere else on the internet. Oh, god damn it. Fucking patriarchy letting me down. Get a grip, guys.
But this is not the internet, and it's definitely not a reality show. This is real life.
And real life is very different from how you think it is.
These are real lives. These are real mothers. These are real daughters. The lives of sisters. The lives of wives. And don't get me wrong, women are not the only victims. Assault, harassment, disrespect, it happens to all others.
And it happens to some of those a lot more than it happens to others. Don't make me put those criminal statistics back up on the screen.
It happens to sons. It happens to fathers. It happens to husbands. It happens to brothers.
Ooh, that brothers bit could definitely be taken out of context by someone with less scruples than myself.
Even still, it shouldn't matter whether or not they're kin. These are teachers. These are students. These are strangers. Our closest friends. They're all survivors. And they're all human beings. Yet, we express skepticism and disrespect as if as if we have no feelings. So stop allowing these Twitter trolls and articles to have you second guessing and questioning everything. Because meanwhile, to someone near you, right now.
Is this the part where you go full Geldof at me and start snapping your fingers and saying, right now, a woman is raped, and another one, and another, and another, and another? Damn, rape might be terrible, but it sure has a good beat.
It's happening. But this problem is not entirely bleak. There is a solution, and there is hope. There's an answer to the end of harassment, sex slavery, and all forms of assault. Here it is.
Okay, I'm calling it right now. This solution is going to involve something along the lines of teach men not to.
Stop telling women to watch their back when we're the ones who stare at their backs as they walk past.
Telling people to take responsibility for themselves is victim blaming.
Stop telling women that it's their fault when we are the dogs who make the cat calls.
Roar?
Rather, speak up and teach boys and men these 3 simple things. Love people, respect people, and do not assault.
Fucking called it.
As supporters of survivors, here are some questions that we should not ask.
Could you have done anything differently?
Did you push or did you scratch?
What were you wearing? Were you drinking at all?
Did you even fight back?
Because although the concern is well-intentioned, these are really nothing but blaming questions, and it won't help to retaliate or even get mad.
Do you honestly think that those are the kinds of questions that people ask when their friends tell them that they were raped? Because I think you'll find, in reality, most sane people react to it more with a question of, do you want to go to the police? Are you alright? What can I do? They are not going to look at their friend or family member or even a total stranger who walks up to them and says, I was raped, and say, well, what were you wearing? The sorts of questions that you are implying that people ask are the sorts of questions asked by the police. And they do that because they need to corroborate evidence, so that they can get an accurate picture of what actually happened. If a police officer asks a victim of rape, what were you wearing? They are probably not asking so that they can internally judge and say, oh, she deserved it, the fucking slag. No, they're asking so that it's quicker to find the victim when they scrub through things like CCTV footage.
The best thing that you can tell anyone who has ever been assaulted or harassed is,
What happened to you is not your fault. I'm always here to talk. I've always got your back.
That was totally a rape threat. Remember earlier when you made that point about staring at women's backs? Oh, he's going to get her back. He's going to get it hard.
is there someone who needs you? Because as bystanders, we will speak up.
We will refuse to remain silent. We will fight this battle without peace.
Holy shit, we are witnessing the social justice hive mind firsthand.
Of any form of violence. The truth is our weapon, and in it we have no shame.
We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us.
No matter who's with us
or against us,
we will win this game. We are witnesses. We are survivors. We are
OneStudent.
Resistance is futile.